They're spread all over the globe and have baffled scientists and explorers for centuries. Built to withstand the test of time, from carved blocks of rock or simply out of the earth, pyramids have been around for thousands of years. But what do we really know about them? Since they were first opened and explored, they were thought of being ancient burial sites for kings and other high-status figures. But are they more than that? Were they actually built by the people we think? Were they designed to be places of eternal sleep or places of worship for the living? These are just a few of the questions that are still unanswered by modern archaeologists and have gone unproven for decades. Author Matthew LaCroix believes that there are still some secrets that the pyramids still hold and won't be so easy to answer. A lot of people have heard about the Giza Plateau and the 3 pyramids that can be found there. They've been a tourist attraction for centuries and a place where archaeologists and grave robbers alike have come to make a name for themselves. But this isn't the only place where these structures can be found.
Pyramids come in a lot of different types. There are step pyramids, there are triangular pyramids, there are square pyramids, there are oblique pyramids, there are pentagonal pyramids, and right pyramids. So essentially we have a large variety of different types of structures that are created that have unique purposes.
Pyramids have been found on almost every continent in the world. Africa holds the record for the most pyramids, from the Great Pyramid of King Khufu to those of Khafre and Menkaure. They astound visitors with their megalithic beauty. But these are just a small part of what Egypt has to offer. Although impressive, they aren't the oldest, by far. An older example of a pyramid building is the Bent Pyramid, found in the Dashur necropolis, which is 40 kilometers south of Cairo. This pyramid is an example of the fact that Egyptians were using this type of monument earlier than some may think. An even earlier example of pyramid building is the Step Pyramid, or the Pyramid of Djoser. This has been proven to be the oldest pyramid in Egypt. Built in the Saqqara necropolis, this may not look like the pyramids we all know today. Because of the way it's built, archaeologists have theorized that it may be just an early exercise in getting the shape just right. But it does bear a striking resemblance with other pyramids found in other places around the globe. Moving not too far from Egypt, we can find the Ziggurat. Granted, some may say that this isn't exactly a real pyramid because of its shape, but the base of the construction is exactly the same. Also, if looked at from a distance, it does resemble a pyramid without a top. Although the ruins of this ancient monument have been crumbling away into dust, people can still make out its shape and size, and can't be anything less than amazed by the structure. Having a mysterious function is another similarity it shares with the rest of the pyramids from around the world.
In Iran, we find the Ziggurat of Ur, which the city of Ur, is an ancient Mesopotamian city that likely predated even what we think of as the Younger Dryas period of this great flood period. And Ur, of course, in Uruk, is where we get this famous story of Gilgamesh and some of these bloodline kings that lived in that region. Moving over, we get another type of pyramid temple called the Ziggurat of Tepe Salak in Kashan, Iran.
Another example of pyramids is the Mesoamerican ones. These can be found in South America. Aztec, Mayan, Olmec, Toltec, and other civilizations that inhabited this area have left behind a very rich architectural heritage in the shape of pyramids. They can be found in the most peculiar places, from mountainous plateaus to hidden river valleys. And they all share common traits with other pyramids from around the world. But figuring out which were first and what was their actual purpose is still a debate that is long from over. One of the biggest similarities shared by most pyramids from all over the world is the fact that they have some very impressive dimensions. True, some may argue that this isn't necessarily very interesting, but consider the Nubian pyramids, which were modeled after the Egyptian ones. They're much smaller than they are, and have been built much closer to one another. Unlike other pyramids, these serve as final resting places for Nubian royalty and nobility. But they're not very impressive in size. That means that the ones that are actually very big were built like that for a reason, and that because they can be found in so many parts of the world, they were all linked by that reason. The Great Pyramid of Giza originally measured 481 feet, or 146.6 meters. It has a base that measures 13 acres, with each side being almost a perfect 756 feet, or 230 meters. But that doesn't make it the biggest out there. The biggest one can be found in Mexico. and is known as the Great Pyramid of Cholula, or Tlaxihualtep in the indigenous Nahuatl language. It measures 1,312 feet, or 400 meters on each side, and stands at the height of 216 feet, or 66 meters. Although it may not be taller than the pyramids of Giza, it has nearly twice the volume of the Great Pyramid. Some scientists say that there's a direct link between the sizes of the two. Some even speculate that the scale of the Great Pyramid is meant to represent the Earth. In his book, One Hell of a Flood, The Numerology in the Genesis Narrative, Joseph McCool demonstrates that the size of the Great Pyramid is in direct relation to the Earth. He does this by doing some serious math. The pyramid itself sits on a platform called the sokla. When the two sides of the sokla, all sides are equal, are multiplied by 86,400, the equatorial circumference of the Earth is represented. This would be around 24,902 miles. What is the cubit measurement that the Egyptians used for their building of the Great Pyramid? It turns out that a special adaptation of the royal cubit, which is 28 fingers, or 7 palms, was used. A finger is equal to 0.01875 of a meter in the metric system. Therefore, 28 fingers is 0.525 meters. Building a pyramid requires a more finely tuned model than is derived from measuring fingers or palms. The geometry of a circle's circumference is circumference equals 2 pi r. Pi can be rounded to 3.1416, and r is the radius of the circle. The clever architect of the Great Pyramid decided to set the radius to 1. Then the equation for c simply becomes 2 pi, or 6.2832. Next, the designer divides the circle into 12 slices of 30 degrees each. 6.2832 divided by 12 is 0.5236 meters. This is the cubit measure for the Great Pyramid. Two sides of the sokla base are equal to 15 seconds of the 360 degrees in a circle. If you multiply 60 seconds by 60 minutes by 360 degrees, you get 1,296,000 seconds. 15 to the ratio of 1,296,000 equals 1 to 86,400. Using this correlation and adding it to the fact that the two pyramids have similar characteristics makes one wonder if they aren't actually both representations of the Earth, or even complex mathematical devices or calendars. Another similarity between many of the pyramids that can be found worldwide is that they all have vast complexes surrounding them. These are speculated to be remains of the living quarters used by the people that built them, but these could be something more than that. For instance, in many of the dwellings found around the pyramids in all corners of the world, there are clear signs that they were used for other purposes. They might have been either smaller temples or prepping areas for the important rituals that happened at these pyramids. Sure, some may have been used for accommodating those that kept the whole complex running, but aside from those, these buildings were there to create a scene for the pyramid and its rituals, and also to enable the participants. Both the Great Pyramid and those of South America have ritualistic shrines and temples built into them. Those of the Aztecs, Mayans, and Olmecs have these temples atop their pyramids, while the Egyptian ones have them inside as rooms that are a part of a complex network of tunnels and corridors. But the original Egyptian pyramids are thought to have had their various top caps made out of solid gold or other valuable materials. Another similarity that's worth mentioning about almost all pyramids out there is that they were aligned to various constellations. It's long been speculated that the pyramids of Giza are aligned just like the stars that make up Orion's belt. The same has been said about those at Teotihuacan. The three pyramids that make up the South American complex are arranged in such a way that they are similar in position with the same stars as the Egyptian ones. Granted, the constellation of Orion isn't in the same place as it used to be when the pyramids were built, but the alignment is still relevant. This led many to believe that these are actually more than simple burial sites or places of worship. In his book, The Illusion of Us, The Suppression and Evolution of Human Consciousness, Matthew LaCroix says, "The Great Pyramids of the Giza Plateau, if viewed from the air, are all aligned geometrically perfect to the three stars that make up the belt of the Orion constellation. Inside the largest of the Giza pyramids, there are vertical shafts that point directly to Orion's belt and Sirius. Both of these constellations have a rich history with Egypt, Mexico, Peru, and much of the Middle East into Southern Asia." Just like with many things, researchers, scientists, and regular people over the ages have wondered what the actual purpose of the pyramids was. Some time ago, some experts claimed that they were lavish burial sites for the pharaohs of Egypt. But until today, not one single mummy has been found in a pyramid. Also, the pyramids from other sites are clearly designed to be used by the living, not by the dead. So why is this information still out there? And what actually is the purpose of the pyramids?
So in school, we're told that the Great Pyramid of Giza is known as the Pyramid of Khufu. But why are we told that? We're told that the reasons the pyramids were created was to be tombs for the pharaohs. And yet no pharaoh has ever been found in the pyramids of Giza. So why are we told that? It seems to me that when we're told the reasons for why these structures were created and who they were created by, allows us to not understand the truth behind it.
But if not for burial for the rich and powerful of the time, why were these structures created? One theory is that these temples and complex structures weren't simply built for prayer and ritualistic sacrifice as some may think. They were actually built in order to harness energy and resonate with the frequencies that can be found in nature and even from outer space. One argument to support this is the fact that many of these places, such as the pyramids of Egypt, were built out of quartz-rich materials, such as travertine, which could only be acquired from far away at the time. Some of them are built out of materials like travertine and granite that's from hundreds, if not over 1,000 miles away just to acquire these materials. These ancient civilizations were trying to specifically use a certain type of quartz-rich hard rock because they were building these massive temples and these megalithic structures because they were harnessing energy around the world and they were creating these massive vibrational harmonic frequency temples. Another theory suggests that these temples and structures were actually places of learning and somewhat gigantic libraries. That's because there's been a lot of evidence found in these sites that suggests that this is where all the knowledge of the ancients was kept. There have been hundreds of tablets with cuneiform writing on them found, as well as parchments, steles, and other forms of recording information and passing it down through the centuries. An example presented in anecdotal form is that of the Tower of Babel. Although not actually a pyramid, the shape used for it in many graphic representations is close to what pyramids like the Step Pyramid or the Ziggurat look like. In that story, God basically punished people for trying to better themselves, literally trying to reach the heavens, by making them speak in different tongues. So those people were basically robbed of the privilege of sharing information among themselves and to other generations, simply because they were offending some ruler. Pyramids, whether from Egypt, Iran, Mexico, or any other country, will never cease to amaze people. They've withstood the test of time and have kept their secrets well protected. It may take some time before we totally understand why they were built the way they were and who actually built them. But there's great progress being made in that direction by many scientists and researchers. The job that we need to do is to make sure that there are still pyramids around in order to fully understand them, and also so that we don't take for granted what we're told by others. Some may want to hide the true meaning of these superstructures, but we have to be the ones that say that the truth needs to come out.